In 2011, an important discovery was made. In a normal, semi-rundown apartment lied 1,400 prized art pieces. No one knew exactly what was going on in this apartment. Many of the neighbors never knew the exact details of what was going on, but only that there was art going in and out of the apartment. All of the neighbors believed that he was an art restorer, not an art hoarder. One neighbor said that he knew something was off about the owner, but never acted on this intuition. In this apartment, some of the works of the most famous artists were discovered. Some of these artists were Henri Matisse, Franz Marc, Otto Griebel, Pablo Picasso, and many other artists. Unfortunately, the art that was found in this apartment was not under the best condition. Many of the pieces were found under beds, stuffed in closets, in cupboards, and stored in other rooms in the apartment. When discovered, anyone could tell the aging of the art because the pieces were not kept up like the other works by the artists that are in gallery. The man behind this treasure trove is Cornelius Gurlitt. Gurlitt was a lonely man who had no family or friends. After he no longer worked as an art restorer, he would sell a painting or two for millions of dollars so that he would be able to have enough money to support himself. Even though he had to sell the work, it was said that he believed the art pieces were his friends. Since there were so many pieces of art, it was so hard for Gurlitt to keep up with them like he should have. But regardless of the upkeep, it was said that he respected the work and admired it all. Cornelius inherited the art and his artistic admiration from his father Hildebrand. Hildebrand and his family came from Jewish heritage. Hildebrand was a museum director for several years. Although of the Jewish background, he was approved by Nazi leaders to become a Nazi art dealer. He was assigned to deal with the art that was without a doubt stolen, art that was sold without force, and art that was sold by force. Hildebrand years later would end up being Hitler's right-hand man when it came to the artwork the Nazi Party would gain. Over the years, Hildebrand possessed several pieces of art that he would pass on to his son Cornelius. Hildebrand told his son to watch and protect these artworks for the rest of his life. Cornelius did a good job until 2011 when the raid occurred. This all began when authorities became suspicious of Cornelius when he was traveling. The people in charge saw a well-dressed older man with a duffel bag. For some reason, this was alarming to them and they decided to search him. The officials discovered 9,000 euros, which is under the legal mark to travel with cash outside of the country. Even though the amount of cash he was carrying was legal, the customs officials still flagged him as suspicious. This led to the discovery and investigation of the treasure trove in his Munich apartment. Jump back 164 years and the artist was born. The artist was Max Liebermann, who was born in Berlin, Germany. Max studied under painter Karl Steffek, and then he attended the Weimar Art School. Max Liebermann was known as a naturalist and impressionist painter. In the summer of 1873, Liebermann spent the summer in Paris and met a group of landscape painters. He continued to stay with them for some while, but then moved back to Germany in 1878. During the summer months, he would always travel to the Netherlands to live. In 1920, he was elected president of the Berlin Academy. 12 years later, the Nazis forced him to resign from this position. The scenery in the Netherlands was credited for a lot of his work, especially Two Riders on a Beach. It is one of 3 paintings of the same subject. The painting features 2 casually dressed men riding horses on the beach. Liebermann captures the movement of the horses and men simultaneously. The dark colors of the horses and men contrast smoothly with the light blues and greens of the ocean and the sky. This was an oil painting that was using the same colors that would be found on the beach. This is such a well-done painting that it caught the eye of David Freeman. David was the original owner of the piece once Max Liebermann painted it. Friedman kept his version of the painting in his villa in Breslau. He later sold this villa so that him and his family would have enough money to be able to escape to their safety. David knew that this villa was going to be seized eventually, so he decided to sell it first. It is unclear how the Nazi Party possessed the artwork, but the piece ended up in Hildebrand Gurlitt's possession. Of course, it was then passed on to Cornelius until the raid. After the raid, the authorities had to find the rightful owner, which led them to David Torin. Torn was Friedman's great-nephew and the rightful owner of the art. Unfortunately, Torn is in his 90s and can no longer see the art. He is now legally blind and cannot see the art that he once treasured for so many years. He owns a special copy of the art that is a 3D version that allows him to feel the work and picture it in his head. Because he can no longer cherish it like he wants to, David decided to sell the work. It was sold at auction at Sotheby's for over $1 million. Two Riders on a Beach is a piece of art that means more to the family than it could be to a country. With this art being reunited, it brought closure to the family, it filled a hole in their heart, and it was justice being served.